Hello, Warriors of Light! Today I will be taking you through how Lower La Noscea has changed from 1.0. Besides the beautiful Dalamud fragment in the area creating the salt Strand, and some other minor changes, the biggest change is at the region of God's Grip, that lost almost 50% of its land. I will be telling how the story of God's Grip is linked to Llymlaen and Oschon of the 12, and the Feisty love story behind these two. And also how you can still see a significant relic landmark of the 1.0 era today. To those who have already watched the full Lower La Noscea video, there is some new content, so please use the chapter timestamps in the description to skip. So let's start with the God's Grip. The first mention of the God's Grip is in the 5th Astral Era's War of the Magi. During the Battle of the God's Grip, Nim fought off an Emdapuri attempt to land at one of the cape. Nothing much, however, is known about this battle, and I would presume that in the 5th Astral Era, God's Grip looked more like its 1.0 version, where you can see two peninsulas extending down together, forming a hand grip shape. The real story of God's Grip, however, is tied to two deities of the 12, Oschon and Llymlaen. At the tip of these peninsulas, which by the way is called a cape, lay one lighthouse each, warning ships of the impending coastline. In line with the hand grip theme, the West Cape Lighthouse is named Oschon's torch, after the torch he would carry in his hands on his travels as the Wanderer. And the East Cape Lighthouse was named Llymlaen's ring, after the ever-shining ring she wears on her hand. What the calamity did to Lower La Noscea was to bring on great waves, which I think would have minimally been a tsunami at least, but more like a mega tsunami, coming in right from the east, and this sunk almost the entire chunk of the eastern peninsula of God's Grip. But as a result, the west peninsula of God's Grip received less damage. Morrowby Dry Docks was cut off from the main peninsula, but this was easily solved with the skilled craftsmen of Neldic and Vermelis, who built the bridge connecting their shipyard back to the mainland. Now, the position of the lighthouses and what happened after the calamity couldn't be more reflective of the story between Oschon and Llymlaen. It is said that Llymlaen took water created by her grandmother's Nymnia's tears, and then she spawned forth two mystical serpents, Perkos and Thalios, to populate the world with the seas. Oschon, ruler of the mountain, spawned forth one day from the wall, and wherever he went, mountains rose from the land. The mountains gave rise to more winds wherever they were created, and the cold air could now descend onto the sea and back, allowing life to begin in the sky. Both Oschon and Llymlaen command the element of the wind, and these winds of change brought love into the heart of Llymlaen. And she longed to be with Oschon. However, Oschon's need to wander, since he is Oschon the Wanderer, prevented any sort of consummation of this relationship. Legends also tell of Llymlaen throwing a knife, or a fish really, when she caught Oschon peeping at her having a bath. This incident purportedly led Oschon to taking Menphina as his lover instead. I guess Menphina was okay with him wandering, although really nothing much or as interesting about this relationship seems to be documented, making the Oschon-Llymlaen story a much more interesting one. Fun fact, if you were to blow a kiss, dote, or hug Llymlaen during her fight, she would literally shoot the navigator's dagger at you. And this may be taken as evidence for whichever part of the lore as you please. If we look at how the lighthouses of Oschon and Llymlaen are laid out today, they are close, but forever apart. The tsunami during the calamity had sunk almost the whole eastern peninsula of God's Grip, but by the blessing of the 12, Llymlaen's ring was spared. Today, Llymlaen's ring isn't officially marked on the map like it was in 1.0, but it can still be easily seen lying outside the map boundary from various locations. And just like the ever-shining ring of Llymlaen, the lighthouse continues to shine at night. To the unknowing, it may just be a random lighthouse, part of the set dressing of the map perhaps. But to the knowing, it tells the tale of the land in 1.0. and a very human-like love story between Oschon and Llymlaen. To see more of the Eastern Peninsula of God's Grip in 1.0, check out the Speakers Network video linked in the top right. Moving on to the Salt Strand, arguably the most interesting scar that the calamity has left. When the Dalamud shard fell into the sea, the impact released a massive amount of concentrated ether beneath that instantly crystallized the water. The resultant force of the impact also sheared the solid land behind it in a similar fashion. However, I'm not aware of any quest that actually concerns us with this Dalamud fragment, and the encyclopedia would only state that city-state funded exploratory forays into the inner crater have all yet to return. Even though the game is now onto its 5th expansion into the new world and we have supposedly wrapped up the Arcean arc, it may yet remain a possibility that we shall revisit this Dalamud shard one day. Or perhaps way back then, the Salt Strand could have been another entrance to the Coil of Bahamut, provided if that raid series needed another turn. Coming down to the smaller changes in the region, Rooster Stead initially was located further up north in what I think we would consider Eastern La Noscea today. It also didn't have these beautiful windmills known as the Grey Fleet, at least from what I can see from archival footages. But the windmills are hardly grey, so where does the name come from? When talking to one of the NPCs in the area, he reveals that the grey in the name derives from the mill's ability to withstand even the greyest of storms. There was also a 1.0 dungeon called Shposhae here that never made it to 2.0, but whose assets were repurposed for Shposhae. Shposhae is said to be where the treasure of the legendary pirate king Mistbeard was stashed, at least in 1.0 when it existed. This was changed to Hullbreaker Isle subsequently in A Realm Reborn. Shposhae also had lore tied to the pilgrimages that Llymlaen's followers would make. To see more of this dungeon and the pilgrimage type to Llymlaen, check out the link in the top right. I know I said I wanted to make a shorter video, but there were just all these regions tied to the transformation of Lower La Noscea from 1.0 that the video would seem incomplete without them. What do you guys think of the changes from 1.0? Personally, I find myself really loving the Feisty stories of Llymlaen, and completing Myths of the Realm about the 12 really made me fall in love with Oschon too. I didn't realize that the Salt Strand was a fragment of the Dalamud that we didn't really interact with, but if you know of any side quest that leads here, do leave a comment down below. And I'm not too sure about naming the Grey Fleet after something it survives though. If I was named after something I survived, I might be called Generational Trauma. Speaking of Mistbeard, I'm considering to do a series about the story between Mistbeard, Mulwit, and her father Beofis, because there is quite a sad story here, but maybe after I finish going through Western La Noscea. Anyhows, if you prefer this technically shorter format, do let me know in the comments. As usual, correct me if I got anything wrong, and comment if you have anything else to add. As a small channel, I do read all the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell, and share my videos with those whom you think will enjoy them. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one, and may you ever walk in the beauty of Hydaelyn.